born on the 25th of August 1845 and he died on the 13th of June 1886. So he died when he was just 40. The palace here was built from the year 1869 till the year 1878, just 9 years. And as you can see, it was built in the historicism style. So in the whole palace you will find elements showing the Baroque and Rococo style. And here in Linderhof Palace, King Ludwig II also spent most of his time, which means the last 8 years he spent here about 2 weeks every month, because it was the only one which was finished till he died. Maybe you know the others, like Neuschwanstein Palace or Helmchiemsee Palace. In the middle of the room you can see a horse statue showing King Louis XIV, the so-called Sun King, because King Ludwig II admired him. And when you look on the ceiling, you can see a sun in splendor, with the French Bourbon King's motto, Nectaribus Impar. So this can be translated with the words, I'm superior to all. When you look at the second entrance hall, you can also see 3 vases. The vase in the middle, the blue one, is made of Sèvres porcelain. So Sèvres is a suburb of Paris, and you can still find today that manufactory. And next to the staircase are so-called cloisonné vases. No photo, please.
Oh, okay.
No. And the cloisonné vases are over 200 years old. They come from East China. And the doors here, they were the service rooms. Today they are empty and we use these rooms now. On the right is bathroom and on the left side the kitchen of Ludwig II. So later when you leave you can walk on the left and look through the window into the kitchen. And now we go up in the first room and please walk on the left side. Now on the right please, on the right.
Bye-bye, yeah, welcome. Bueno, guarda tu reloj que tenemos
Yes. So you will. Which is called West Tapestry Room or Music Room. So the music instrument you have heard, you can see in the left corner. It's a so-called pianino eolodicon. And this music instrument is a combination of piano and harmonium. The peacock next to the music instrument you can see is one of 2. The second one you will find later. Because at the king's time, the 2 peacocks, they were standing at the entrance hall, on the left and on the right side, just to show the king's presence here in the Linderhof Palace. And he took the peacock because it was one of his favorite animals among swan and horse. The red curtains and seat coverings are also originals, and they are made of real tapestry and come completely from Aubusson in France. And all of the paintings you can see on the walls are oil paintings, and at the king's time they were made on very rough canvas. But as you've already noticed, in the whole palace is a lot of gold. So not very much, as you can see, because it's very, very thin. Of course, at the king's time, every room in the palace was heated, but only the king's rooms. And they were heated by means of warm air rising up through the open fireplaces. from the domestic rooms downstairs, the rooms in the first entrance hall you have seen. But we had 4 rooms which were never heated. They are called cabinets. Even in winter it was cold. And a cabinet was just a waiting room for a servant. And the first cabinet, the yellow cabinet, is the only room in the whole palace which is silver plated. You can't find any gold leaf in there. I have to explain before because it's very small. On the walls you will find pastel portraits showing French nobilities because he admired French people. And on the ceilings zodiacs and elements. So one step closer to my side and now you can have a look into the yellow cabinet. But this was just a way. But when you look to your right side above the window on the ceiling, you can also see a painting showing Versailles Palace. Because King Ludwig II was several times in France, especially in Versailles, his favorite one. So, here he copied completely. Linderhof.
Esta es la mejor habitación que he visto.
King Ludwig II we are in the bedroom, and as you can see, it's the highest and widest room of the whole palace. The bedroom has about 100 square meters and has a height of up to 7 meters. The king-size bed of King Ludwig II is in his favorite color royal blue and has a length of about 8 feet and a half and a width of about 8 feet. Because King Ludwig II himself was very tall, about 6 feet 3, so very tall for that time. The panelings you can see on the walls next to the bed are so-called high relief embroidery. When you look on the left side above the door, you can see a painting. In the middle, King Louis XIV, the so-called Sun King, with guests and servants at his morning reception, the so-called Lever. And on the other side, it shows King Louis XIV at his evening reception, the so-called Coucher. But King Ludwig II, our king, didn't have here any reception in his whole life. He never married, he led a secluded life, so he only had about 10 servants, not many as you can see. And in the last years, he only lived in the night. So now he was sleeping, because he stood up between 4 and 5 o'clock in the afternoon and went to bed at around 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. So in the night he was traveling, was reading books, writing letters, everything at night. And then he called himself as the Moon King because he admired the Sun King. So this was all his free decision. He only lived here in the last years when the candles burned. And the chandelier above, you can see, weighs about half a ton and carries 108 candles. And every evening the servant has to light every candle. The 2 mirror frames you can also see on the right side are completely made of mason porcelain. So, and this porcelain was a favorite of King Ludwig II. You can see nearly the same candle holders like in a cabinet, but also flowers, birds, and on top 2 angels holding a crown. And below the crown you can see a double L on a white background. So the double L stands for Ludwig II. And this is the only sign of himself in the old palace. You can't find a portrait that you're painting. You didn't want it. Only a small double L. The next cabinet I will show you is the rose cabinet, and this was his changing room. But you can't find any wardrobe here because it was downstairs in the domestic rooms. And every morning and evening the servants had to bring up all the clothing. And to make it easier, you can find 2 doors here. One on this and one on this side on the left. And behind the doors there is a staircase to the bathroom, kitchen and domestic room. Just to make it easier. And now you can have a look into the rose cabinet. So here's one door. there is a golden color. So it's there. Yeah. Yeah, in Linderhof he was born in Munich. Okay. And most of the time he will be the second. And in the middle you can see the famous magic table, the so-called Tischlein Deckentisch. When King Ludwig II wanted to eat anything, at first he ordered a meal. Then he was sitting at the throne and was waiting. Because this table could be lowered with a hand crane to the room below, the kitchen. In the kitchen, the servants put the meal on it. But while they were covering the table, King Ludwig II was sitting here at the throne and was waiting, because he ordered the meal at first. And when they finished, the table came up again and so he could eat. Of course, he copied this view completely from Versailles Palace in France. And all of the years he ate here completely alone. And in the last years, when he was living in the night, it was about 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning. The vase in the middle of the table and the chandelier above are both made of mason porcelain. Everything, even the head of the flowers. Only the leaves you can see are made of silk. And when you look on top of the chandelier, you can also see a pineapple. So the pineapple stands for hospitality. Even though he ate here alone. But he copied this from France. And there all of the kings had a pineapple on the chandelier. That's the reason. You can also find here in the dining room a painting showing you the Bavarian Baroque and Rococo style, which is on the ceiling. So the lady in the blue dress on the right side shows the goddess of flowers, Flora. And next to Flora on the left side, the god of wine, Bacchus. And it looks like they were stepping out, because their leg and their feet goes from painting into stucco work. And this is the Bavarian Baroque and Rococo style. You can also find here again wood carvings covered with carrot gold leaf, of course showing you here typical symbols for a dining room. On the left side next to the door you can see agriculture, on the right gardening, and on the other side on the right fishing, and on the left hunting. So, but King Ludwig II was the only member of the whole family who didn't like to hunt. He was never hunting in his whole life. The next cabinet you can see is the blue one, just another waiting room and the last one. Above the door you can see a portrait showing Richelieu, so he was a grandnephew of Cardinal Richelieu. And the lady to his left shows Madame Vintimille, and she was the prettiest at the French court. Okay, and the room after the blue cabinet we just go through, it's the East Tapestry room. You will find the second peacock, only the music instrument is missing. Because the next room he only built for the symmetry. Just go through. And she was the prettiest one. Oh, she's great.
I'm standing right next to you.
Yeah, I'm trying. So they're very loud, I know.
Yeah.
In the middle you can see the second peacock, only the music instrument is missing. So as you can see, he built this here for the symmetry. You can see nearly the same paintings. And when you look behind, on top of the mantelpiece, you can see a statue. And the statue is made of Carrara marble and shows the 3 graces. But this is only a reduced copy, because the original stands at the French Louvre Gallery in Paris. And there King Ludwig II has seen it first, and then he said, I want to have such a statue, but of course a smaller one. But now I will show you the room of mirrors, and this was the favorite one of King Ludwig II. In this room he spent most of his time, because it was a study or reading room. I will show you. Echelon kaputt. Wie lang weiß ich nicht, bin jetzt zweites Jahr da.
Бесконечно. Сюда встань.
Yeah, you can also read this, but it started in 1869. So, I know in some books you can also read 1874, but it's not true. Here we are in the room of mirrors. And when you look to your left or to your right side into a mirror, you think this room never ends. And this here we copied completely from Versailles Palace, his favorite one, but of course smaller. On the walls you can find a lot of vases, so you can count 90 little vases, because King Ludwig II collected them. Even at his time, just decoration, the most precious thing of the whole palace. It's also in the niche above the sofa, it's the chandelier. And the chandelier is hand carved of Indian ivory and consists of about 300 pieces. It took about 4 years to carve it completely. And this was our last room, so please keep your ticket if you want to visit the grotto. You walk 10 minutes a little bit uphill, and every 20 minutes there's a guided tour. So when you arrive, there's a big clock and the next guided tour inside. If you have time, you should go. And when we leave the palace now, we leave through a secret door. Was the entrance and exit for the servants. Ludwig II only used the entrance hall because he was the king. So I will show you the secret door. So thank you and have a nice day. On the right it's the grotto.
What was the other tour you mentioned?
Grotto?
The grotto.
Yeah, you walk on the right side 10 minutes and there is a guided tour inside.
Thank you.
Yeah, hide it from that, not for that.
Hide it from that.
Only 20 euros.
Really?
Dafür, dass es hier mit bis zu 20 Grad Celsius relativ angenehm war. Und sogar der kleine künstliche See konnte erhitzt werden auf stattliche 40 Grad Celsius. Wir wissen es nicht genau, aber wir können alleine schon deswegen davon ausgehen, dass der König hier hin und wieder ein Bad genossen hat. Seit 1881 gibt es in der Grotte sogar elektrisches Licht. Das ist der erste Fall von Elektrizität in ganz Bayern. Und dank verschiedener Aufsätze farbigen Glases konnte die Höhle in unterschiedliche Farben getaucht werden. So zum Beispiel in Rot, die Farbe der Liebe und damit äußerst passend zum generellen Thema der Venus und Selbstverständlich. Und so war der König bis zum Ende seines Lebens eigentlich niemals wirklich zufrieden mit dem Resultat. Es musste immer und immer wieder verbessert, erneuert und experimentiert werden. Um die Grotte in diesem Zustand gebührend anblicken zu können, gibt es zwei private Logenplätze für den König. Einen sehen Sie dort hinten bei dem güldenen Licht, der Fels der Lorelei, und einen dort hinten auf der Anhöhe bei dem türkisfarbenen Licht, der sogenannte Königssitz, von welchem
14 meters or 45 feet, it is the largest artificial grotto of the 19th century. It contains a stage setting referring to the first act of the opera Tannhäuser by Richard Wagner. Ludwig II not only was his great admirer, but at the same time his greatest patron. The painting shows a poetic scenery including Tannhäuser and Venus, the goddess of love. The shells of gold, decorated with a figure of Cupid, is a further reference to this scenery. It was August Dierig, a landscape designer, who created this fair in 1876-77. First, the large foundation pit was blasted dug out of the rocks and soil on which a brickstone hall was erected. Inside, a frame of iron metal was installed, modeled in different shapes and covered with coarse linen, which finally was thrown at and doused with shale iron and concrete. At last, the grotto was covered with blotted soil. 700 tiny stones were used to heat the interior. It took 9 cubic meters for them to complete it during a period of 8 hours. At a temperature of about 70 degrees Fahrenheit or 20 degrees Celsius, it was warm inside. By means of the separate heating system, even the lake could be heated up to 95 degrees Fahrenheit or 35 degrees Celsius. Since 1881, the grotto was electrified. In a nearby building known as Machine House, a current was provided by means of a steam engine and 10 dynamos. The current was used for operating carbon arc lamps inside the grotto. This can be described as the first immobile electrical lighting system of Bavaria. By using attachments of colored glass, the grotto could be illuminated in different ways. Red, green, orange, and not to forget blue, Ludwig's favorite color, which allowed him to invent the Blue Grotto of Capri. An artificial waterfall above the lake is another part of Wagner's stage directions. Like in Ludwig states, the water of several mountain springs is being collected in a reservoir uphill and from there transferred to the waterworks in the park and to the water wheel. In order to leave the grotto, please follow the signs. If you want to get to the car park the quickest way possible, turn right at the exit. If you want to visit the other buildings, turn left. The next one is a more oriental one, the Moorish Kiosk. Afterwards you can go to the ornate cabin and proceed to the Hermitage of Ornaments, two further stage settings of Richard Wagner's. The castle administration would like to thank you for your attention and wishes you a pleasant stay in Linderhof Park.